Did humans suddenly become fireproof? No. America, a long time ago, took the threat of fire seriously and said, collectively as a country, you know what, it is not okay that our children are burning up, and they were. Well, that's not okay. In the workplace too, you're sitting in chairs with flame retardant material. There's sprinklers right there in the ceiling. There's a fire code wiring in that wall. There's fire alarms, fire extinguishers, fire drills, fire marshals, fire this, fire that. We took fire seriously, and we're winning. There's still fires, and people still die here and there, but you know how bad fire used to kill people? Now, how many kids have we lost to violence in public schools in the last 50 years? Oh, the guy with all the stats in his head knows, right? Yes, I do. Let me give you 1 year. I'll just give you 2009. 48 dead kids, 250,000 physically injured. How many mentally injured? I don't know. Is that okay? That's not okay. We've been slow to the table with the violence thing. We're getting there. But you know what? It's not just schools. Right now in America, only 10% of companies out there, corporations, have a vibrant workplace violence program that includes prevention and drills like that guy in the mall in New Jersey, that manager. Okay, enough of that. This was a big company, so statistically they had more of a chance of this happening. And here's the part where the company spokesperson has to say something. And you often feel sorry for these people, right? But they have to say something, and it often looks something like this. The welfare of our employees is of the utmost importance to us. And the reason this is worth mentioning is because I will just tell you that I have trouble reconciling that statement with scurrying. And as many of these things over the last 5 years and longer that I've researched and looked into, I'll give you an example. Back to the LA airport for a minute. The police officers, the airport police officers that responded there, they were all over the media, telling the media, we just did extensive active shooter drill training in an airline terminal 3 weeks ago. They were proud of it. They said it helped us so much. The lady in the mall in New Jersey, these things come out anecdotally if they were occurring. And I'm not calling them a liar, but I'm telling you, if the guy in New Jersey, that manager, I believe him if he says the welfare of his people, because he's drilling them. He's talking to them about something that they could face, and they almost did face. Okay, here's the part where the ravenous dogs figure out the name of the murderer, so they go to torture his family and neighbors to get more info. And it almost always looks like this. Shocked, I tell you. They were completely stunned. They couldn't believe it. I mean, look right here, this kindly old Mr. Glennon Meyer. This guy came and raked leaves for him. And then here it is. It's the phrase that pays. He brought chocolate cake for Christmas. Right? And I will tell you folks right now, in my book, nobody that brings chocolate cake for Christmas could possibly do that. Right? Mr. Meyer felt that way, and I do too. And it's the truth, because the guy that brought chocolate cake for Christmas is not the guy that did this. Chocolate Cake Man was pre-monster. He was not yet there. Okay? Did he snap? We already looked at that. Let's look a little closer. How shocked was the neighbor? Well, you know what? After it sinks in for a minute, he says, you know, a couple years ago, he did mention something in passing about having problems on the job. And oh my Lord, look where it's underlined right there. Recently, he hinted that he was being retaliated against for the lawsuit, and people were being treated unfairly. Injustice collector, anybody? Seemed like a really nice guy. He was a really nice guy until he became a monster. And every single one of these people that goes through this, they go through this same five stages. Everyone does, the ones that do it. So we'll talk about them for a minute. The very first thing that anyone has to do to get there, in fact, to get to where you can kill another human is a process. Because we're not born with that. It's not magical. In fact, it's very difficult to get people to kill other humans. It's not easy. Militaries throughout history have had to do certain things to get people to kill efficiently. Because we don't want to kill each other. We're social animals and all that. We will if we have to, whatever. There's ways to do it. A gentleman named Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, one of the smartest people on planet Earth. He's a retired Army officer. He taught psychology at West Point. Retired in 1998 from the Army, and now he spends all his time helping schools, military, law enforcement, with stuff like this. Okay, He's written a couple books. One's called On Killing, and one is called On Combat. And in many circles, they're very famous books, and they're very good books. In On Killing, he tells us how the process goes, and how, you know, you can go about getting people to kill other people, and how it's done, how the militaries have done it. He goes through some examples in our history and other militaries. For example, in how hard it is. In World War I and II, there's plenty of good evidence that a lot of our guys were shooting to miss. They just, even those wars, they just couldn't bring themselves to kill another person. It's just that hard. But we have to get them there. So militaries, a lot of times, now I was on both ends of it in the Marine Corps, okay? I was on the indoctrination and brainwashing as a recruit, and as someone who trained recruits and privates and new Marines, and turned them into killers, and how to do it. And I know how it's done. There's lots of ways. Here's one. Objectify the enemy. That's not a person. Take World War II, okay? Those aren't people, those are Nazis. Or those are Japs, or whatever. Whatever they are, they're not people. Remember the Omaha Mall monster? Pieces of blank, right? Not people. Not people. They have to cross this bridge. They have to cross the bridge. Another way that can go with that one, or stand alone, is it's a noble cause. It's a just thing. It's righteous to do this. World War II, the Nazis killed, 7 million Jewish people. How many millions of other people? This was a bad thing. That was a noble cause. We have to stop them. Noble cause. Chocolate cake guy. They're retaliating against people. People are being hurt. Noble cause. Right? To him, and whose perception matters that day with the gun in the mall or wherever. Okay, so the first stage is the fantasy stage. It's hard to tell if someone's in this, although sometimes the leakage can happen in this one. The thing about putting the gun on the wall with an arrow, that's an example of leakage in the fantasy stage. But usually what there is especially early on. Now this is where they've got to that crisis state that I mentioned, okay? And they've dropped their plate, or the plate's about to be dropped, and they're not really moving smoothly down the buffet line of life anymore. So they're starting to think about options. And the more they look at that life thing and moving down the line, the more they realize that's not really for them. So they start thinking about other options. And they start thinking about what might feel good. And the guy in the mall in Omaha, I have a burden on my family. I know I got to stop this. And then they want to matter, and they want something. And so he says, I can take other pieces with me. It's all happening here. And they're visualizing, strong visual. The violent video games are often involved nowadays. And they help a lot in this stage because there's very graphic things going on, nice conditioning going on, classic conditioning going on. That's all happening here, okay? They're thinking it through. They know what they want to do. They know what it looks like. This is when they love to